think we think transformation is like knowable or witnessable. So like we'll seek transformation externally. Like we believe transformation is something that we can witness. Like where transformation is something that's hidden. So that is why we seek and we search and we even times consume, purchase, right, support things that we believe will help us reach transformation, right? A state of being in point A or being in state B and introducing the transformative entity, whatever it is, someone coaching you or giving you a product or saying, hey, I can solve your problem. When people believe the concept that transformation is a result and not a cause, it puts you in this perpetual position to always be externalizing the truth or what you will become, externalizing or pushing away you're externalizing your transformative energy. Like we think, for example, like weight loss. You see somebody that was 600 pounds. A year later, they are, you know, 180 ripped type joint, and you're like, wow, that's a crazy transformation. We are socialized and conditioned within a society to perceive transformation as perceivable, right? So the transformation doesn't exist unless I witness it. And I think that is what puts us in the position of like not quite getting to where we want to go in a lot of cases, because if the answer is always in the future, it's away from you. Oh, well, I can't wait till I get my transformation. I'm just using the body as an example, transforming my body from state A to state B. We believe the transformation occurs at B, right? I witness, oh wow, they lost such amount of pounds, or you know, they went from this state to this state. It doesn't even need to be body related. Just any type of transition or glow up that people like to talk about. The idea of transforming, I think a lot of times like we don't get to transform. The average person stays who they are. I think that's where the notion of like you can't teach an old dog new tricks come from. Is that so many people stay where they are and are not interested in, distracted from, too hurt, whatever it is, to instead of like moving up, looking up, seeking better, seeking higher, there's like a sort of gentle stagnation that you barely notice, right? Unless it's brought to your attention in some way. And obviously it can get to the point where you believe you are in a state of transformation, coming from the same concept that if you externalize what it means to be transformed, you will perceive your 1, 2, 3% raises per year as transformation, as transformative, as like, oh, I'm moving up, moving on up, right? You're moving from a lower state to a higher state, greater pay, right? Or you will believe getting promoted is a transformation, or getting, let's go back to the job example, getting a better offer from a different company, right? How we, if I post that on Facebook, I got promoted at my such and such, or such, this company, this major brand asked me to come work for them. We were like, whoa, that's a glow up, that's a major transformation. You went from this to that. Not understanding, again, the transformation I think comes like internally. Like the transformation is not something witnessable. So like, in order to actually transform, you would have to learn an unlearnable amount of information, because we have this association that knowledge also equals transformation. If you knew better, you do better. right? So the knowledge itself is the transformative vehicle. And that's what I see a lot where people, if people have different ideas or concepts, the first thing people want to know is like, what books have you read, right? Or share books. And although I do think reading books is needed and necessary, and there's definitely information out there that we don't know that is in certain books, so to seek those books out and to seek out that information definitely is the catalyst, and that's the point. These things are the catalyst for transformation, but they are not transformation in and of themselves. That's why the most brainiac a person who can like regurgitate knowledge, information, right? 2 + 2 = 4. If I do that on a complex level and I can do it from memory, I'm lauded as some type of genius, some type of like transform. Like transformation occurs, but it is in levels. I'll say that. Like the transformation that we're talking about is like major transformation in your life. So increasing your income, refining your body, getting healthier. These are like major things in your life. Now, of course, there are micro transformations that occur and things like that, of course. But we're talking about like how do we translate or transfer like or inflate, right? How do we build up the micro transformations? Because those things happen daily to a degree, weekly, monthly. We can notice them like, oh, I'm doing this different. But how is that translating into like a separate experience in my life, right? So how does me waking up earlier each day, for example, how does me waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock when I used to wake up at 9 or 10, how does that translate into experiential increase or major transformation? How does that happen? And to that degree, I would say it's a little easier because, well, obviously your productivity increases, your body can be increased in energy and shit if you work out before you start the day. Those type of things facilitate transformation. Those things in and of themselves aren't the transformation though. But this is what we attribute our transformation to, right? So when we transform and somebody asks you, hey, how'd you do it? Hey, how did you do it? How did you make that million? Right? How did you write that book? How did you start that business? They'll give you things that you believe are transformative. They believe they're transformative. Even people who have gone through major transformation will attribute their success, right? Their glow up, their um, just more experienceable life transformation to I got up early, I, you know, I stayed late, I did more work, I hustled harder, right? A lot of times, even people see people say like, "Oh, it was about my mindset. I changed my mindset. So instead of thinking in terms of like lack or I don't have this or what if they don't like me, I changed my mindset and I put myself out there more." Those things, again, we attribute to transformation, and I think something precludes those things. Something comes before those things to that is transformation. I think if we reverse it, I don't think transformation is the outcome. I think transformation is the cause. Like you're transformed first, then you witness those things, then you witness the success. So there is a chronology, there's a pathway, there is a process that you go through, but it is not teachable. It's not necessarily something that you can point to and say, hey, this is what I did. On the other side, it's actually more of a being. And that's not necessarily something that's actionable. And I think that's the tough thing to grasp, especially in the world of social media. You're either looking for entertainment, right? Something valuable emotionally you can laugh at, you can cry with, you can resonate with, or something you can act on to increase you in some level. You're not looking at anything intentionally to decrease you. It's to increase your spirits, or even if you like, movies, horror movies, comedy, there's still these spirits that create like these levels of contentment within you, right? So it's something to increase you in some way, right? Whether it's reducing your stress or increasing your endorphins and those type of things. But there is something to be said about the circumstances that create transformation. You don't necessarily do the circumstances that create transformation. You're actually at an effect of them. So it's possible to set up the environment under which you go through transformation, but only you can know that environment. Like nobody can tell you do this, then this, then this, then this, and then you'll be transformed. To a degree, yes, right, on the external level. So if somebody tells you, okay, invest in real estate and you'll make X amount of dollars over time and you can be financially free, yes, but you need to be transformed before you can accomplish that. Again, so there's a misperception that, yeah, if you give me the knowledge, buy this property, buy it at a lower rate, lower value, interest rates are good now, get in, get some debt, and buy a bunch of property, use this loan, this grant. We believe that that information is transformative. We believe that the knowledge is the thing that's transformative. I'm not transformed. If I take this knowledge into me, then therefore I will be transformed. It's the classic traditional medicine concept where if I take this pill, I'll be healed. I'll take this pill. It's the pill concept. Even the notions of like transforming yourself, becoming more enlightened, becoming more self-aware, getting more into mindfulness, grounding yourself into reality instead of the world of belief in what we're made to believe or entranced in the drama, right? The more you seek to move into those spaces and energies, you'll no longer want to take the pill. You'll relieve yourself of this magic bullet paradigm. Everything has become a magic bullet, right? Whether it's medically, health-wise, economies, everybody has the vehicle that will put you in a position. And the only vehicle that can put you in a position is staring you back in the mirror every day. So it's not, you don't transform your experience, your internal being, because your experience is not what your body goes through. Your experience is how you are interpreting what your body goes through. That's what your experience is. We believe like if I'm cut and I bleed, my experience is, well, body related. Well, I went through pain and it really hurt and I needed gauze and I needed stitches or some shit, right? Whereas the experience is actually your response to that. That's what your actual experience is. So even if, if somebody jumps out and scares you, you would say, you scared me, right? Because your body, your heart dropped, maybe, that type of thing. You are startled. And you say, well, yeah, that's how I would describe that experience. Fear, maybe anger, you mad somebody jumped out at you, whatever to that degree. But there's something behind that. There's a viewer that enjoys that experience, or like a movie. So if you're watching a movie, you're not in the movie. You're observing the characters play out. You're observing the plot play out. So even inside of yourself, you are observing your plot playing out, right? Everybody's characters, and as are you. But again, the one who is transformed needs to be the viewer, right? What's the point of the movie if people are not moved in the seats of the movie theater watching the movie? I can create the best movie in the world. If nobody is there to watch it, how could it be the best movie in the world? How could it transform people to believe and confirm that to you that, yeah, that movie is really good, top tier, 5 stars, right? That can't occur unless the observers are transformed by the movie. So unless the part of you that observes your inspirational nature, the part of you that observes where you're lacking, what your good qualities are, what your bad qualities are, unless the part of you that is observing those things is transformed. Doing those things will do nothing for you. They won't transform you. And that's why it's tough when you're trying to focus on your mindset. You're trying to stay consistent, build a schedule, all these different things that we're told are transformational. If we do these things, we'll be transformed by them. And I don't think we realize in a lot of cases that there's a prerequisite, right, to this type of transformation, to like true transformation, real transformation, where it's like life changing and you can kind of develop freedom, right? Financial freedom, freedom from trauma and pain. And, maybe you deal with some family issues and you really like feel lighter, like, wow, I'm glad I had that conversation type thing. Or, wow, I'm glad I'm in this position instead of this one, right? Maybe I was working this job that had no future for me and I'm really good at X part of the job. So my ideal position would be, in this area of my field, and you able to get there. Now you're like happy and flourishing. Whatever the case may be, there is a transformation that needs to occur to put you on your right path, like the path that is meant for you and not the path that like you're choosing. But that can only come from, again, learning what is unteachable. That's what you have to do. Learn what is unteachable. You don't think you'll be transformed by learning something that is not teachable? That seems like the most transformative thing, to learn something that is not teachable. Because what that then does is directs you at yourself. But there's a rhyme and a reason, there's a methodology to kind of put you in that position. And it really involves going back to the basics, the beginning, like the elements. I write about that in my book, 4 Elements of Healing and Self-Care. There is an elemental, like super simplistic nature to putting yourself course correcting, properly course correcting. So if you're in an emotional stir, or you have some emotional trauma, some baggage, some thing that you can experience as holding you back in some way, right? The transformation occurs not from like alleviating that pain. Again, it comes from transforming your response to that thing. So it's not about pushing the thing away, right? So I have this issue, this thing is weighing me down, so to speak. So if I get rid of this weight, then I can move forward. It's not to that degree. It's, again, the transformation doesn't come from removing something or cutting something away, or to that degree. It's about changing how you respond to your environment. And that, again, it's not something you can teach, but it's something you need to learn. Yeah, there is an elemental nature to it where, we made up of 4 elements. So it's important to realize like the foundations of our experience, the foundations of thought, the foundations of emotion, the foundations of like our passions and our drive, the foundations of our actions, like what causes these things, what is the true cause, right? So we don't want to misperceive causers as effects and effects as causes. So if we see transformation as an effect, then we'll never reach true transformation, because we'd have to realize that transformation is the cause. So how do we get on track to the cause? Right? It's like being lost on the expressway. You took a wrong exit, and what you're attempting to do, you ask around, you're asking people, how do I get to such and such? Or how do I get back to the expressway? They're like, oh, take 2 lefts here and then make a right. Before you can get to your destination, it's not just about being on the road. It's about, you don't just get on the road and just start driving. You get on the proper course to begin your journey, right? So we think the beginning is the doing. In most cases, we think if I do this thing, that's the start of my journey. I start doing something different. I'll just do something different. I was doing this and I'm gonna do this now. And I get it. Like to the naked eye, that's what it looks like. It looks like, oh yeah, they were doing X, then they started doing Y, now they blew up. And I think to start doing X, to start doing Y, to start doing the different thing is not the catalyst. You were transformed first, and then you began to do a different thing. So I think a lot of times we like got cart before the horse. So we're doing different shit, but we didn't course correct first. So we got like hella shit still like chirping in our ear. Whether it's traumas, you got shit in your life people need to cut off, moves you need to make. You need to move to a different city, a different neighborhood. You need to quit that job. You need to get a new job. You need to start that business. Whatever the thing is, you need to do, right? Find some partners. I don't know. You got some ventures you're trying to do. Regardless of what the thing is, you got to make sure that you're course corrected first. Then you can act. Because I understand, like, it feels good to act. To be, oh, I'm doing this different stuff, man. You talking yourself into it while you're doing it. So it's the whole fake it till you make it thing. It's like, yeah, I used to do this thing. Now I'm doing this thing. And in your head, like, yeah, it's going to work out. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. And if you didn't course correct first, something's always going to, like, drag you back. Or it's going to loop you back. So you think, oh, yeah, it's like motherfucking Super Mario. Not Super Mario, I'm cooked. Like motherfucking Pac-Man. I don't know why I said Super Mario. Yeah, it's kind of like Super Mario in a way. But Pac-Man is the better example, where if you don't deal with your stuff first before you go on the journey, you're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go this way. And you're going to come right back into the system, right? So you have to make sure that you have the proper coordinates. And because here's the thing, we believe that, again, the transformation is the thing we witness. So if I know where the truth is, all I need to know is how to get there. I need to go here, bang left, boom. Nobody else knows this, right? The problem with the people who aren't successful is that they don't know how to get to success. They don't know what actions to do, right? So if I know what actions to do, all I need to do is do those actions. If only it could be so simple, right? But the truth is, it's not about whether or not you know a piece of information. That's why information is important, but it's not the thing. It's irrelevant if you know how to get to the truth if you can't get there. If you don't know how your vehicle is best formatted to get there. Because not here's the problem. Not everybody, that's why everybody's always selling the same shit. And it's like, oh, well, my way to get there is like, do it like this. That's the basis of religion and spiritual practices and all this type of stuff, is to say, hey, we got a path this way to the truth, and although the truth can be gotten to that way, oftentimes, more often than not, the methods that we use to get where we're wanting to go fully disregard the vehicle. So it's about, oh, take this path. This is a scenic route. Or you take this is a mountain route and it's higher elevation so you can look down on the peasants. Or, right, this is the gritty route. Get it from the mud. So it's a little tougher, it's darker, and it's predators and shit, but I maneuver through them and I can get there. And it's like, what is your vehicle equipped to do? Right? Like, what is the optimum way? It's like eating. If you understand your body enough, if you dug deep into it, you'll realize, like, you need to eat to the level that your body is best equipped for, right? So if you know, like, okay, fruits is probably the best thing I can eat, second to like vegetables, greens, right, that type of thing, minimal processed animal products and shit like that, you understand, okay, this is how to best feed my body so I can get to any location, any journey, to truth, to wealth, to ideal relationships. The path, the destination can't be relevant if the vehicle can't get to the destination. So to say, I can help you get there and not say, I can help you prepare yourself, is disingenuous. If somebody can say, hey, I can help you get from here to here, but they take no interest in your equipment, then it's not about you necessarily getting there. because they feel, and they would justify their actions by saying, I gave you the path, you just lazy, or you just didn't hustle hard enough, or you, it's just always this pathology of you, because nobody's taking into account we are all like different vessels and vehicles with different mechanisms, idiosyncrasies, habits, all these different things. When we don't realize that and validate that as true, then we'll have the tendency to, again, constantly externalize the truth, constantly put it away from us, where the transformation is in the doing. The doing creates the result. And this is like a deeply held paradigm. So I understand that it can come off as like nonsensical to a degree when it's not like deeply reasoned with and intuited with and studied and experimented with. We'll realize that the transformation comes from the being, right? And the only way you get to where you're going is understanding your vessel, understanding, okay, how do I best get to where I'm going? Because it's not about, like, if I was a male, well, I am a male. If I was a male that weighed 500 pounds, let's say a more reasonable but big weight. Let's say I weighed like 360, 380, something like that. And I know that I'm really best around 220. That's my real weight, and I'm lean there and all that type of stuff. What transforms me is not the actions of lifting weights or doing cardio or whatever. It's the understanding of my body. I know how to get there. I know what to do, right? I know to work out and I need to get to this ideal weight. But if I don't understand my body and how I'm going to get there, what I'm going to do, what exercises, why those exercises? You know, what are my goals? Am I trying to get lean? Am I trying to burn fat? Am I trying to build muscle mass? With like, and for your body type, like, what's your body type? Are you do you hold more fat? Do you hold, you know? So understanding, so your body, we have a body that is non-physical. That's the soul, the spirit, all these different things, the electromagnetic force that's flowing through us, you know, the light, all these things that we are. They're prismed in a certain way. So we all have different levels of and kinds of crystal, of matter, of energy, whatever you want to call it, inside of us, and they're all angled at different ways. That's the whole astrology thing, right? That's the trine versus the square versus the sextile versus the conjunction versus the opposition. These are like angles, and you first must understand your angles before you try to get to a destination. So it's like shooting a jump shot, or boxing, or golf, or football, or, you know, almost anything you can name has angles to it, methods, you know, optimal angles. So when you shoot a shot, you don't shoot it directly at the rim, because obviously there's quote unquote gravity that is going to pull that thing down. So there's an angle, you know, bank shots off the glass, right? There's an angle that you do these things to ensure that the optimum outcome. Golf, there's an angle that you hit something. Well, is it into the wind? Is it, where's the water? Where's the, I don't know golf terms, you know, boxing. You know, so your footwork and creating angles when you're inside, when you're outside, how to get your opponent to do something, make a mistake, and you can execute on it. If you have the right angle, you get a right angle on them. Same with chess, right? So, and which has to do with war. So if you're battling yourself, right, and you're understanding that for you to win the battle against yourself, meaning against like your conditioning, your socialization, against your trauma, because they become disembodied entities. Your trauma and pain become entities that become like your enemy in a way. So when we talk about like enemies and people talk about ops so much, the more people talk about ops and enemies, that tells you more that they have internal trauma. The more you talk about ops and enemies, the more you do that, the more you focus on that, again, is witnessable, you can extrapolate that this person has high trauma, right? Because the enemy externally is the enemy internally, right? So if we're talking about don't focus so much on the external actions, focus on the internal actions, because the internal actions cause the external results. It's not about the internal actions causing the external actions, right? The internal actions cause the exterior result. So anything you see on the outside, you'll say, well, no, there's actions there and then there's results. Those shits are the same. When you're doing the actions, that's the result. When you see, oh, I got a bunch of money from doing this, you say the money is the result and not the acting. They're the same. You were bound to get the money once you started doing the action. That the result, that's like when you're manifesting, it's set in stone once you impart it within yourself. You know, you do a little, you write it down or you burn it, you put something on your mirror, right? You recite some type of affirmations to yourself daily. It's not about getting there, like, oh, I'm gonna say these things and I'm gonna do these things to get me here. You're already there. If you work on the internal actions first, then you get there. Your results is already set. So then it's a time thing. It's just about waiting. It's about waiting for time or temporal reality that we live around, the material world, right, to catch up. Because the temporal world is slower and lower in vibration. It vibrates slower than like light or thought or sound, right? So the higher up we go in frequency, the higher up we go in energy spectrum, the faster shit is. Shit is like immediate, you know? So it's like 5G, where, you're going to be instantly able to do certain stuff that on 2G you wouldn't have been able to do, right? So getting to where you want to go is instant if you're able to do the being before you do the doing. That makes sense. Um, yeah, and it always goes back to the simplest form, and again, learning something that's not teachable. So yeah, it is something that you definitely need to experience on your own. There's ways to do it. It's not to say that you can't get to your success alone, but it's possible. Like it is actually, it's more likely that you get to your success in isolation. So when this learning that you're doing of the thing that's unteachable, the best results come from isolation. Actually, come from putting yourself in a position where it's just you and your enemies, right? Your the entities that are disembodied with you when you're going against your traumas, and you're going against um, generational curses. You're going against the naysayers. You're going against your own tendency to think small. You go against your own ignorance and searching out new knowledge and information and being open to it. When you do these things, you begin to learn. And what's tough, what you don't see a lot of people doing is helping people curate the environments under which they can learn the unteachable thing. So it's not necessarily about teaching people what you know, right? So to the level that, somebody can be enlightened or have some type of information or be spiritual or woke or whatever, to the degree that they can do that, again, we misperceive that they can teach us something, where if you really wanted to focus on helping people, you would facilitate the environments that they can learn the unteachable thing.